podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi and welcome to 49 Unbeaten, the official ArsenalVavel podcast. We're back again. We've got a little bit of time for an Everton kind of reflection, reaction. Not that we really want to react to it too much, but we've also got to talk about the important protesting that happened down at the Emirates Stadium. Joined by Ben as usual, and we've got Jack on. Jack was at the protest, so welcome back, boys. Good to have you both on again. So just kind of starting off with the protest, Jack, you were there. Just kind of like, what did you make of it overall? And first of all, like, what would you say your personal intentions for going to this protest were?
Personal intentions, I just wanted to be there, accountable as another head. I think it was important to get as many people down there as possible, because obviously the more people there, the more voices heard, the more Stan Kroenke hopefully notices it, whether he did or not. I'm sure he's been told by someone. I'm sure he wasn't watching it firsthand, but I think it was just important to reiterate the message that we want Stan Kroenke out. So no, it was really good. I thought that it was good that it was a peaceful protest, but the sort of the fire and the hunger of the fans was there to be heard, and you know the message was clear. So
it was great to see the fan involvement there with the there were fireworks at some points, there were flares throughout. It's nice to see kind of, there weren't necessarily rules, and obviously we're still in a global pandemic and it's a difficult, sensitive moment, but kind of, I guess, to see that sense of normality coming back must have brought back memories of going back to grounds and stuff. But Ben, what would you say you were in support of this protest?
I wholeheartedly support the concept of protesting and also the reasons for protesting yesterday. What I think it achieved is, very debatable, but it was good to see, I think the Guardian was saying there was 3,000 gunners there. I know Josh, who normally hosts the podcast, was saying there's over 1,000. It was nice to see plenty of support for Arsenal and plenty of high profile support as well. I don't know if the rumours of Jack Wilshere actually going were ever true, but obviously Ian Wright's been quite vocal so far since the ESL broke down about Kroenke leaving. And there's a lot of people, journalists as well, I think Charles Watts and Chris Wheatley, who tend to be pretty pro-Arsenal because it's their job. There's been a lot of Kroenke out from them, it's good to see that the movement is it's almost working its way up hierarchies. So, Wrighty is obviously a huge part of Arsenal Football Club, both as a brand and also with the North London connection. He was in the Cadbury's advert for Arsenal. There was that. I can't remember which summer it was. Do you remember there was a time we were planning on signing? We thought we were going to sign someone, and the announcement was actually Ian Wright. I think it must have been last summer, doing a Cadbury's advert where he sat down at like one of the Islington pubs with Arsenal. So that was one of the that's one of the big things. Getting a big, not figurehead, but someone who really supports the cause, who is deeply entrenched in both Arsenal fans' mentality and also Arsenal Football Club.
He's also an employee of Arsenal Football Club, and to be saying you want the guy that effectively pays your wages. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of his details, but to be saying I want you gone is, I don't think as many fans fully appreciate how massive that is coming from someone like him. And he's got a massive platform as well. And I think if that was anyone else, like you've had certain people working for Arsenal over the years, like Poet, you've had, you've got like more recently, Michael Timms, if someone like that said Kroenke out, I feel like they would very quickly be pushed off their job. But because it's Ian Wright, because he's had the career he's got that relationship with the fans, with the players, I don't think it's as easy as that. But with the protests happening, I think Josh Kroenke would definitely have seen it going on. I think because he claims to watch every game. I wouldn't be surprised if Stan didn't watch the game. But I don't know if you guys saw as well. There was an interesting clip on Sky Sports saying that one of the owners of a Big Six club, and it wasn't actually said, but it said that one of the owners of a Big Six club went to the stadium, sat in the director's box, and asked the person next to him, which team are we? And he owns this club. And for me, I think obviously it's just speculation, but Stan Kroenke, I think that's got him written all over it. And I just think for Kroenke, it is now the time to go, because do you think it's just a coincidence that all of a sudden now these protests are happening? We start to hear people like Josh saying, we have plans to invest this summer.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because you could equally argue that the protests are only happening because of Arsenal's, botched attempt to try and make it into some sort of European elite that we don't deserve to be in anymore. And also off the back of a season that has seen us, I think, more depressed than we've been in a long time as Arsenal fans. It's been a real slog getting through this season.
And that's impressive based on how some of our previous...
no two ways about it. Well, exactly. I thought last season, it can't get any worse. And this season, it's found new depths. And obviously there's still the Europa League to play. But I think that if you're looking at this season and saying this club doesn't need investment, even before this, then you're failing as an owner. So whether or not we think Josh is doing that, then that's the real crux of the issue.
So with the actual protest, chat, just kind of paint the picture for some of us that might not have been able to see it, and for some of our listening audience here, where was this protest exactly outside the ground? Roughly how big were the crowds, and what kind of picture can you paint for these guys?
Yeah, so it was just outside the club armory, just the club shop. See the sort of the front end of the stadium, as you will. All along the stairs, either side of the club armory, along the terrace, or you can call it along there. And it was well, not surprisingly, because I did expect a lot of people to turn up, but it was pretty more than I thought. With a lot of people there, all wearing Arsenal colours, all making their voice heard. Obviously, lots of flares, as you say, fireworks as well. Just I think it was either just before the game kicked off, or
it was just after
after, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I just think they were all there with the intentions to just make their voice heard. I think it will need. I don't think it will solve anything immediately, but I think if we continue to make the point, and I think it could lead to a point where Kroenke sells. I think what's interesting is obviously Arsenal are at their worst point in a while. I mean, there's no guarantee on European football at all next season, and if it does get to that point, Arsenal are going to be still valuable, but not as valuable as we have been in previous seasons. So it may be a point where Kroenke decides to cash in and just cut his losses. I mean, I don't know how much he would have made, or whether he's in a loss, but yeah, certainly you could see him selling up this summer or anytime soon.
Do you think that there's some danger of hypocrisy from Arsenal fans? And I know it's very difficult to separate Arsenal with your head from Arsenal with your heart. But you were saying about everyone in Arsenal colours, etc., etc. Do you think there's a danger of next season Adidas just bring out 3 brilliant kits and everyone's like, yeah, I'm buying all 3 of those, and immediately Kroenke goes, yeah, well, thanks for protesting, but you still spent, about 180 quid in the armory.
Yeah, that did run through my head as I put on my Arsenal kit to turn up. But for me, my Arsenal kits from last season, I didn't invest in one this season because I just, as you say, it is in the end turning up in Kroenke's bank account. So yeah, there is an element of hypocrisy in it, but I just think it was important to show that it's our club, it's our colours, but it belongs to us, and it's something you can't take away from us.
So obviously the protest happened outside, made a massive thing about it on TV. You saw the aerial shots of it. They said they could hear it from within the ground. Arteta acknowledged the fact that the protest was going on. He said he heard the fans, he understood what they were trying to push. And he also said the players are made aware of why the fans are outside and for what reasons, which I respected quite highly of him coming out and saying, because they could have just said, ignore it. But the fact that they made it say, this is why the fans are outside, this is what they're trying to push without giving like a biased opinion on it, I respect it quite highly. But with all that going on, we did also have a game to play, which did seem the side piece, which is a bit weird. seeing as when we normally play games, that's the main event. But this game happened. It was Everton at the Emirates. We lost 1-0, and it just again summed up just less than underwhelming. It's just a bitterly disappointing season, Ben. Like, can it get any worse? I mean, yeah, it can, but can it get any worse in the league?
How many times have we seen the exact replica of that game? We've gone, it's been pretty dull, pretty boring. Something goes wrong, something goes against Arsenal, a minuscule thing. Something goes for the other team, a minuscule thing, and you end up losing 2-1, 1-0, something like that. We're just, everyone's going to point to the Nicolas Pepe offside, of course, and the Richarlison corresponding offside. But we need to be better because we can't. We're a side that's relying on this game after game, and admittedly, it is going against us. But if we're 2-0 up at that point, if we've actually started, motoring like we did against Slavia Prague, they're irrelevant. We look back and we go, "Oh, Nicolas Pepe was offside for the third goal," but Richarlison did pull one back, but we still won the game. That's where the issue lies, and we're just not. We're not good enough, which is really weird because if you ask Arsenal fans, most of them will say the individual parts of the system, like bits of it, are quite good. Thomas Partey midfield, Granit Xhaka in midfield. He's divisive, but when he's good, he's good. Saka on the right, Smith Rowe in the middle. It just doesn't seem to click, I think.
It feels like we've got a team of very good individuals that just struggle to play as a team, unfortunately. But Jack, kind of putting you on the spot here, but do you think Mikel Arteta is treading on thin ice at the moment?
Yes, simply yes, but I also think no. I think something maybe would have been done by now if
That's a diplomatic answer.
Yeah, if the club had any real intention, and I think, well, if it was any other club, then I think he'd be gone. Obviously, Spurs have shown ruthlessness in getting rid of Mourinho a week before a cup final, and obviously we've got our semi-final. So in similar circumstances, I personally am still Arteta in because I just think there is a big mess around the club, and I don't think you can totally place it all on him. As you said, it's really weird why we didn't win that game. Everton didn't play sensationally, and I have this feeling this squad is actually a decent squad, better than probably last couple of years. Obviously, Aubameyang's not on form, so that obviously doesn't help. But obviously, it's just really weird. I can't put my finger on it for why we're so bad this year. Obviously, teams have bad results, but then they pull it round. But we're just not doing that whatsoever. We'll have a win, pick us up, like the Europa League win, obviously in the semis now. But then you just draw to Fulham and lose to Everton. No disrespect to either of them, especially Everton, because Everton have shown they're a good side this year. But we should have, on paper, beat that side, I think, still.
Ben, do you think Arteta could be in danger? Or I see a lot of people say he's won us a trophy, he's won us 2 trophies, and he's a long-term project. But at what point do you say, all right, enough's enough, he needs to go?
I'm with Jack. I think that the squad will go before Arteta goes. I can't see a position. I don't think I can see a position where Arteta leaves, not least because the money to sack him will be too much. The players he's brought in are very much set for him. They're who he's been going for. And as Jack says, he is a project. There is a very, very good coach in there, but he's still sort of an unpolished diamond, and that's not what Arsenal need right now. That's the simple truth of it. It is a case of right manager, wrong time. And we're struggling through this period, but it is, I was saying back in January, it almost feels like a season where you'd love Arsene Wenger to come back for 6 months, sort this team out, and then let Arteta loose in the transfer window.
Take it easy. Yeah,
I
hear your point. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here, just to show the other side to it. But if I put a scenario to you and say, if Mikel Arteta, if we get knocked out by Villarreal and we finish in 10th position, do you still see him in the job next season, at the start of next season?
I think it's difficult because I'd like to see him in a job. And I think there's a lot that's conspired against him this season, not least with, we're missing Kieran Tierney. You read through our injury list. We've got Kieran Tierney missing. We've got David Luiz, who's a much bigger factor, I think, than a lot of Arsenal fans realise. Granit Xhaka has now left our midfield and is now playing at left back for God knows what reason.
Aubameyang,
Lacazette have been Aubameyang's the key issue with Aubameyang is he's just not been firing this season, has he? You look at someone like Spurs and they sacked Mourinho because in spite of the fact that Harry Kane was still keeping them going. I think I read a stat that without him they'd be 17th if you took away all of his goal contributions. And Jose Mourinho just ruined the culture around the club. Everyone seemed to want him out. I was reading on the Athletic. But with Arteta, everyone seems to be sort of buying into a process. And I think for a lot of it, it's just desperation at this point for Arsenal fans. We want something to hold on to.
I see it similar in some ways to the Frank Lampard situation. Obviously, Lampard being removed from his job as of about a month ago now. And I just see it similar because could it be a case of like right manager, wrong time, like you said? I know David Ornstein said a lot that everyone around Arsenal in European football does believe Mikel Arteta has got it within him to be one of the best coaches in European football one day. And I agree with them. I see it within him too. But obviously this is his first coaching job. And we're just going to have to wait and see with this one. It is a like weird scenario to have a guy come in and manage our football club that had never had any kind of first team managerial role before. Like he played number 2 to Pep. But it's just going to be interesting. We're just going to have to wait and see with this one.
But let's be fair as well. It's not you can look at it on Arteta as well, but there's as much on the people above Arteta.
Oh, 100%.
When you look at Arsenal Football Club, and it's not even they're necessarily performing badly. It just feels like there's no sort of centre of experience in that core of Arsenal Football Club. You go above Arteta and you've got Edu, who's in Brazil. And then you've got Vinay, who was in. He hasn't been in that role before, and he moved in 8 months ago now, 12 months ago when Sanyele left. Tim Lewis, who's a lawyer. You're looking at people who don't understand either football or Arsenal Football Club.
A lot of people that seem to be learning on the job.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that seem to be as well just not incapable but inexperienced, and that means that when Arteta turns around and says, if we've heard Arsene Wenger's name being touted as a director of football, but when something goes wrong for Solskjaer, he can just go, Sir Alex Ferguson has a chat with him, whatever. When something goes wrong for Arteta, I feel like he's alone, or a lot of the time. He can turn around to his backroom staff and maybe talk to Guardiola. But in terms of
he wouldn't talk to Guardiola because Guardiola wouldn't want to help out a rival, would he?
It depends, really, doesn't it, on the
running a rival.
Yeah, I mean that too. But you're looking at it and thinking, where does Arteta turn for like the bad period of results where he's just scrambling? If an experienced figure came and said, stick with what you've got, you can see why you're going wrong. You've got to trust yourself. I think a lot of the time he hasn't backed himself for what he's trying to do, and we've seen a lot of that this season where he's just scrambling with team selections, putting Aubameyang through the middle, moving him to the left, dropping him all together. All these things are just sort of, they don't breed any consistency.
No. I agree with you. It is a weird situation, but we're going to move on to a slightly more upbeat topic, which is quite nice as things. It's been quite a doom and gloomy week, but some of our loanees are doing very well. Ainsley Maitland-Niles has been putting in some very good performances for West Brom, who are more than likely going to be going down, unfortunately. But they've had some good wins in the process since Maitland-Niles has come in. He's been getting that game time in centre midfield, which he's been crying out for. And more noticeably, that's kind of made the headlines a lot more is Joe Willock, who scored, I believe, 3 goals now for Newcastle, most recently against Liverpool, to snatch a point in the 95th minute. Jack, if you've got if you're looking at those two players, how do you see their future at the Arsenal Football Club?
I'm a big fan of Joe Willock, and obviously I think he was very important for us in Europa League group stages. I think he often carried us through games at the start of the year. I think Willock has a future at Arsenal Football Club. Oppositely with Maitland-Niles, I think he's maybe one to look to move on this summer. He has good ability, which is obviously there. We've all seen that in certain games, but I also think that he's just a liability a lot of the time as well. And I think what Arsenal need at the moment is players that are going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and drag us through the tough times. Notably, most notably, that is Kieran Tierney. Obviously, players of that sort of have that leadership, those leadership qualities, that same fight and desire. And
Saka too of how he's played on the pitch.
Say again.
I'd say Saka too, and the way that he's played.
Yeah.
Like, leading by example. Like you said with Harry Kane, if Spurs didn't have Harry Kane, if we hadn't had Bukayo Saka this season, we'd be in the mud like even more than Spurs probably. But yeah. That's what
Just out of interest, how highly do you value Joe Willock in Arsenal's future? So, I mean, just to put it in more simple terms, if Newcastle come in with, say, a £25 million offer, and you can get rid of Willock for 25 million and Maitland-Niles for 20 million or 15 million, you've got 40 million, and that gets you Martin Ødegaard, do you pull the trigger on that, or do you say, I'd rather keep Willock at the club?
If it gets us Martin Ødegaard, then I'd say yes. If it contributes 40 million to obviously it's been reported this week that Ødegaard may come an even higher price, maybe like 60 million. I'm not sure on exact numbers, but if it meant we got Ødegaard, then I'd definitely take that, because I think, I value Willock highly, but I don't also think that he's going to be a starter for Arsenal as well going forward. I think Go on, what you said.
I think I struggle to see where he's going to fit in the Arsenal side, unless we move to 4-3-3 and he plays as a central midfielder. But at the moment, he's not even playing. He's not even starting for Newcastle. He's doing brilliant off the bench.
With that proposition you just said, I think if that offer came in of 25 for Willock and 15, 20 for Maitland-Niles, I don't think Arsenal would think twice. I think they'd just be like, sort it out. Let's get the money in. Let's reinvest it into the squad, because at the end of the day, like on the previous episode we had with Eduardo, he said, you have to remember the academy isn't just for making first-team players. It's also for making players that you're going to be able to sell and you're going to be able to make profit for. And if these two sales went through at that kind of price, you'd have to say it's a massive success story for everything that's gone on and the money we've recuperated for them, bearing in mind that some of our star players have gone for next to nothing, like in previous years, and some of our talent have just slipped through hands. Like you look at Serge Gnabry, like probably the biggest example, went for like next to nothing, and look at what he's worth now. He'd probably be worth like in the 80 millions or something like that. But
it's vital, I think.
Sorry, what was that, mate?
Sorry, I was going to say it's vital that we capitalise on their good form for other clubs, as opposed to thinking that their good form might make them a good fit for Arsenal. Because we did see, in January, we've seen a lot of Willock, but in January, every Arsenal fan was saying, he's not good enough to be playing for Arsenal. And it would be interesting. I haven't looked at the sort of statistics, but whether he's actually made significant improvement at Newcastle, or he's playing a more tailored role to him in a side that is of a lower quality. But yeah, that remains to be seen.
I'd personally really love to see at the start of next season, Reece Nelson go out on loan. Like, I think out of the three players, out of Willock and Maitland-Niles, I would have loved to have seen Reece Nelson go out, I think, more than them, to be honest, because he is a very talented player with a lot of potential, and he's been touted as the next kind of big thing for Arsenal, like the hottest prospect in the academy for years upon years. So I think I'd love to see Nelson go out on loan. I don't think if we sold him, I'd be disappointed, but I'd love to see him go out on loan, get some game time, hopefully in the Premier League this time as well, rather than the Bundesliga. And Eddie Nketiah is another one where I would if he'd gone out on loan with this batch, I would have liked to have seen him, but I just remain to be convinced by Eddie, unfortunately.
He's only got 12 months left as well.
Yeah. So it's at this point now where you're like, we sell him or we renew, and I can't see Arsenal renewing the contract, if I'm being completely honest. Just to kind of wrap the podcast up there, lads, we will do a full preview into the big game on Thursday night. We're playing Villarreal in the first leg of the UEFA Europa League semi-final. It is in the proper business end now. Just kind of to give you kind of your thoughts and how you're feeling around that game, facing Unai Emery again. What Jack? What kind of reaction and emotions are you feeling going into that one?
I don't really know with Arsenal anymore. For some reason, this season, I've had this weird faith in Arsenal that this is going to be the game where we turn it on and we're going to change our season around. But it just never. It does happen sometimes, but then it also just doesn't happen. Obviously, we've beat big teams this season. Chelsea, United, we've beaten them, but then we also draw to Fulham and lose to Everton, like I said earlier. So it's make or break. We all know that. If you not make or break exactly because there's two legs, but if we do have a bad first game, that's not going to bode well for the second leg.
Ben, emotions, feelings. Are you terrified?
Yeah.
It could be a very bad evening.
Probably not as terrified as Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, true.
But there is the added pressure on Arsenal to almost prove that they made the right managerial choices. That's an outside pressure regardless of the fixture, because of the way it's set up, Emery versus Arteta. And I think I said it on the last podcast as well. I am terrified when Arsenal play another version of themselves, in that both teams are woefully inconsistent. And, if one team shows up and the other doesn't, to the degree that Arsenal haven't recently, it could be 4-0, in the first leg.
There could be a lot of goals no matter what team shows up.
Exactly. If Granit Xhaka plays at left back again, I'm terrified because...
Who would you play there instead, though? Who would you play there instead?
I'd move Saka back there, probably. Because I think the argument I've always been inclined to use is that you've got a lot more cover in the attacking roles than you do in central midfield. The drop off from Xhaka to Ceballos is so vast. But then, if you were to move Nicolas Pepe back to the right and play Martinelli on the left, that's or if Ødegaard's fit again, you could put Smith Rowe on the left and then Martinelli through the middle or whatever. I think you've got enough quality in the attacking third without Bukayo Saka, who let's be honest, at left back would overlap anyway.
Well,
that's me anyway.
It's going to be an interesting tie for sure. We hope Arsenal will come away with 3 points. We'll do just for the sake of it. Whilst we've got Jack on, we'll do a quick fire score predictions. Jack, what are you saying the score is going to be?
Yeah, are we home or away?
We're away first. We're away first.
Right. I'll go with 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, I'll go 1-1.
Ben, quick fire prediction.
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1. I'm going to go 1-0 to the Arsenal. I think Unai Emery it's going to be weird seeing them, the two of them on the touchline next to each other.
It'd be horrible if we lose.
Oh, don't sit, Ben. Come on. You should learn by now. All right. So now, cheers for listening, guys. Cheers for joining us, Jack and Ben. So Arsenal play Villarreal in the semi-finals of the Europa League. 8 o'clock kickoff UK time in Villarreal. It's going to be a big one. Let's hope for an Arsenal victory. We will do a proper preview come but just before the game. Feel free to tweet us at ArsenalVavel1. Make sure to check out our socials. We posted loads of content all over there about the protest, given lots of views. So make sure to check it out. Give it a cheeky little retweet, and we will catch you in another episode soon.
Find more great shows or join the team at sport-social.co.uk.